All right, everybody, we're here in Orlando, Florida with Leigh, and she is an amazing, amazing athlete. She's hooked up with Maximize Living. We actually heard you talk from the stage about your experience with Maximize Living and wrestling and just, and I just wanted to have you just share people kind of what your experience has been. You had an amazing story of, your transition in life, and now you're from New Jersey, and now now you're in Colorado. So just share with listeners today, a little bit about, wrestling and what Maximize Living's done for you.
Okay. First of all, I began wrestling in '99 as a senior in high school, on the boys team actually, and through wrestling, I was able to go to Missouri Valley College and wrestle for 4 years. Coincidentally, it became an Olympic sport in 2004. USA Wrestling is a national governing body which helps support wrestling at all levels. And they sponsored a program out at the Olympic Training Center. The USOC accepted it, so women were able to train at the Olympic Training Center. I moved out in 2005 and began my quest, now living at the Olympic Training Center for the second time this year, making the commitment to train for 2012, first off.
Awesome.
And in 2008, I had actually moved off complex, and I'd strayed a little bit away from the wrestling community just because of injury. I had 2 knee surgeries. I ended up with torn rotator cuffs, and my neck was just killing me. And
yeah, you were talking about that from stage, how you had this chronic neck problem, and
and
I felt bad for you. I'm like, gosh, I've seen people like that. They're like, my career's going to be over.
Yeah, it was always. I just always woke up and I was, moving my neck around, and I'm like, man, if this pain continues, there's no way I'm going to be able to continue wrestling for another 4 years. Wrestling is that kind of sport. If you can't see a future in it, you might as well quit. It's just too hard to continue doing things, half. Fill in the blanks.
Yeah. Half blank.
Yeah. So I ended up speaking on post-traumatic stress disorder. It's a subject that I'm passionate about. My father suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder, going to Vietnam, and he's been in the Navy.
My father too. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
Huge subject. Speaking about community involvement. So interestingly enough, a chiropractor from Denver named Dr. DeWeese came up and said, your shoulders are kind of uneven. I was like, get out.
Yeah.
I think so too. I asked my teammates, and I said, my shoulders uneven? And they're like, no. And I'm like, I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
So he validated and verified that my shoulders were definitely uneven, and he figured he could do something about that. He asked me if I had cravings for sugar, and I was like, yeah, I can down a box of Mike and Ike's in 30 seconds,
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you may have some nerve pressure that's affecting the responses of insulin and sugar intake, and maybe it's not registering from your pancreas and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it was just something that was really
fascinating, huh?
Wildly
Especially
interesting
not,
to me.
being an athlete, you should.
Yes.
You think they would have taught you that.
No, I majored in exercise science, health, and fitness, and I know enough to know that I don't know anything.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, but you were intrigued by that knowledge, like, wow, this is,
I'm like, wow, that seems really cool. There might be something to this. So I gave it a shot. He sponsored treatment for me, and it's the first time I've ever heard of corrective care. I had been getting adjusted on a general level by the chiropractor at the Olympic Training Center, but never had x-rays, never did nerve scans, never did actual muscle memory and correction and vibration plates and things like that. So I was like, well, hey, it can't hurt because I'm already hurting.
Right,
so
right.
And I saw a great improvement. I went from a reverse curve, which was, we didn't have any deterioration yet, but it was a reverse curve. And
that you could see on the x-ray, and we know from research that actually the reverse curve actually will demyelinate the spinal cord.
Right, yeah.
And you get neuronal loss, even though you can't measure it on an x-ray yet.
Yeah, right.
It's coming. You were on the path of a life like that.
I just knew it wasn't right. I had absolutely no strength in it. I can say, I'm building those neck muscles. I started to exercise my neck a little bit more and focus on strengthening those muscles while my discs were in place, so that they don't slide out every time I go to practice or anytime anybody bangs on my head.
Right.
So that was interesting. Then he moved to San Diego, and I was like, no.
Yeah, that's a long ways to go.
I know. I was like,
and then you went to somebody else that wasn't quite so good.
Well, I just did some maintenance. He gave me everything that he could. That was the awesome thing about him, that he gave me the head weights. He gave me the wedge little pillow thing that I lay on, and it kept me in a maintenance state. So I didn't get any worse, but I didn't get any better either. And then I met Dr. Kristen and got linked up with her concepts and maximized living and the whole idea. And she was right on target with what I wanted to do as far as corrective care. And she took it a step further. I mean, I had a nerve scan which identified specific things in the neck. And we did specific adjustments. And she unlocked something up here in the top that was locked up for, felt like 100 years.
Yeah.
I mean, and immediately my sinuses drained. I was able to sleep better. I'm recovering. I'm building muscle.
Yeah, that's
I'm
what you're saying. You're like, you've never had abs before until you got your atlas or your skull unlocked.
Single ab.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. I was like, you nailed it. So you accomplished a lot of things, probably just from drive and your just desire to do great things.
Right. Well, I mean,
and now this has helped you just tremendously.
Growing up in Jersey, I mean, I naturally had a rough lifestyle, just like Henry Cejudo, our Olympic gold medalist. You know, he's had a rough lifestyle, and I think that passion, that rough lifestyle, gets you into a sport like wrestling. Yeah. But it doesn't sustain you in the sport. You have to have people that are encouraging around you. You have to have you know, good prevention of injury in order to be extremely successful in there. And I just hadn't had that before. So I've made it up to this point based on passion and just drive and determination. But now it's about to be healthy and recovering and being the best absolute being that I can be. You know,
I've got a nephew. He's like 11 years old. He goes to all these wrestling tournaments, part of USA Wrestling, wins hands down. I last seminar we were in Colorado Springs and we met a couple of guys there, and it was amazing. I called him up and I'm like, hey, you can go to the Olympics, and he kind of had this whatever attitude. But now just meeting you and Henry and just all the people with USA Wrestling and the Olympic Wellness Committee and all that we've created, I'm excited to be the team chiropractor for Oregon, Washington area, and just take young people that have potential just like you do and help them maximize it.
Well, I say everybody has potential. I mean, everybody has potential. It's just that inspiration. It's whether you want to take it that far, you want to take it to that level, how much are you willing to put into this effort with whatever it is that you're passionate about. And it's our job as athletes and as people that are in the public eye to motivate and inspire and bring up our youth to be the best that they possibly can be. That's our job. And if we neglect to do that, then it's just like we're missing out on the Olympic movement altogether. So it's not about us anymore.
All right, well, good, Leigh. Thank you so much for just taking time. I know you're busy with everything you're doing here with Maximize Living in the wrestling. So you're awesome. Thanks for sharing. I appreciate that. Thank you.